Okay, good morning students. So today we have lecture number 2. Today we have lecture number 2 on fluid mechanics. So in the previous class we have studied about the fluid mechanics, and we have studied about the pressure and density. That is pressure exerted by a fluid. We have studied, and we have also understood gauge pressure and density. Okay, so now the next concept today is atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure, how to measure the atmospheric pressure. So first, once again I will recall what is atmospheric pressure. What is atmospheric pressure? The pressure exerted by the fluid of the atmosphere. The pressure exerted by the fluids of the atmosphere on the surface of the earth is called atmospheric pressure. The pressure exerted by the fluids of the atmosphere on the surface of the earth is called as atmospheric pressure, and it is denoted by P naught. It is denoted by, that is notation for atmospheric pressure is P naught. I will use as P naught, and some other books may use it as P naught, or they will use it as PA. Some books may use it as PA or P naught. So I will be using the notation as P naught. Okay. So what is atmospheric pressure? That is the pressure exerted by the fluids of the atmosphere on the surface of the earth is called atmospheric pressure. Okay. So now how to measure this atmospheric pressure? So now to measure this atmospheric pressure, we use a simple device. We use a simple device called as mercury barometer. Mercury barometer. It was invented by Torricelli. It was invented by Torricelli in 1643. It was invented by Torricelli, a scientist, Italian scientist, and it was invented in the year 1643. That is called mercury barometer. See how long it was invented. It was invented in 1643. Now only we have to understand it, not to invent, just we have to understand it. How it was calculated, atmospheric pressure. Okay. So a mercury barometer is a device used to measure the atmospheric pressure. A mercury barometer is a simple device used to measure the atmospheric pressure, and it was invented by Torricelli. It was invented by Torricelli. A mercury barometer consists of a long glass tube. A mercury barometer consists of a long glass tube filled with mercury. A barometer, that is mercury barometer, consists of a long glass tube filled with mercury, and nearly the length of this glass tube is 1 meter. The length of this glass tube is 1 meter, and complete 1 meter length of the glass tube is filled with mercury. Initially it is completely filled with mercury, and one end of the glass tube is closed with the thumb, and then it is inverted in a tub of mercury. This is a tub of mercury. It is a tub of mercury. In this tub of mercury, this glass tube, which is already filled with mercury, this glass tube has already, actually it is outside. It is outside, and it is completely filled with mercury. It is completely filled, 1 meter length. Nearly the length of this glass tube is 1 meter. It is completely filled with mercury, and this end is always open. This is glass tube, and this end is, we will close it with the thumb, and then we will invert. We will keep that glass tube inverted position in a tub of mercury, in a container consisting of mercury. Here is also once again mercury. Then it is observed that the mercury level inside the tube, will falls down. The mercury level inside the tube will falls down. That is a small gap is created, a smaller vacant area is created, and this is called a vacuum. That is completely almost vacuum is created, and this is called Torricelli vacuum. It is called a Torricelli vacuum. It is almost vacuum is created here in this upper end of the glass tube, and it is called a Torricelli vacuum. Okay, so now this mercury inside the glass tube will have a certain height h. The mercury inside the glass tube will have a certain height h. So now the weight of this mercury column, which is inside the glass tube, will be balanced by the force due to atmospheric pressure. So here there will be atmospheric pressure. Here there will be atmospheric pressure. So atmospheric pressure or force due to atmospheric pressure at this point will be balanced by the weight of the mercury column inside the glass tube. Here, listen once again. The force due to atmospheric pressure, is balanced by the weight of the mercury column. That is, the weight of the mercury column is balanced by the weight of mercury column. The weight of mercury column is balanced by, that is equal to the force due to atmospheric pressure. So this was the main concept used. That is, the weight of this mercury inside the glass tube will be balanced by the force due to atmospheric pressure. Then the glass tube will stand vertically inside this tub of mercury. Okay, so now the weight of mercury column, the weight of this mercury column is given by mg, that is mass into acceleration due to gravity, and force due to atmospheric pressure I will write it as f naught. And now m is mass of the mercury column, the mass of this mercury column, and mass can be written as, yesterday only we have studied, mass can be written as, that is density is equal to mass divided by volume. Density is equal to mass divided by volume. So mass is equal to density into volume. Mass is equal to density into volume. That is density of mercury into volume of mercury column. Volume of mercury column into acceleration due to gravity. That is g as it is, and that is equal to force. And force due to atmospheric pressure, that is atmospheric pressure means P naught, that is equal to F naught divided by A. So take F naught is equal to P naught into A. So we can write it as P naught into A, where P naught is atmospheric pressure and A is the cross sectional area of the glass tube. A is the cross sectional area of the glass tube. A is the cross sectional area of the glass tube, and P naught is the atmospheric pressure, and G is acceleration due to gravity, and volume of mercury column, and density of mercury. Let rho be the density of the mercury. Let rho be the density of the mercury, and H be the height of the mercury column. Let rho be the density of the mercury, H be the height of the mercury column, and A be the cross sectional area of the glass tube. Let rho be the density of the mercury, H be the height of the mercury inside the glass tube, and A be the cross sectional area of the glass tube. Then density of the mercury, that is rho, density of the mercury rho, and into volume of mercury column, that is volume of mercury column. So volume of this much mercury. How to write volume? Volume can be done as area of cross section into height into G is equal to P naught into A. So now A will cancel, we'll get P naught is equal to rho G H. So now by using this formula you can calculate the pressure, that is atmospheric pressure. P naught is nothing but atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure can be calculated. That is P naught is equal to rho G H. What is rho? Rho is the density of the mercury, G is the acceleration due to gravity, and H is the height of the mercury inside this glass tube. So by knowing the height of the mercury, height of the mercury inside the glass tube, we can calculate the atmospheric pressure, because density of the mercury is constant. Density of the mercury is constant, that is 13.6 into 10 to the power 3 kg per meter cube. We have to remember this value. Density of mercury is 13.6 into 10 to the power 3 kg per meter cube, and acceleration due to gravity is 9.8 meter per second square. So therefore P naught is directly proportional to H. That means the atmospheric pressure is directly proportional to the height of the mercury column inside the glass tube. Understood? So by taking this is mercury barometer. If you take this mercury barometer to a place, so it will show a particular height. So measure that height and substitute here in this formula and you will get the answer. That is pressure at that place. Pressure at that place. So pressure, that is atmospheric pressure, is maybe different. It will be different little bit at some other place and at some other place. If you measure the atmospheric pressure, it will not be same at all the places. Little bit, very small variation will be there. In general, we will take it as constant only. But if we measure it very accurately, it will be different. So it will varies. Okay. So that is by measuring the height of the mercury inside this glass tube, we can measure the atmospheric pressure by using this method. So this was the method used by Torricelli, and this device is called mercury barometer. Understood? Okay. So now, and depending on this, I will give one homework. So you try to solve that. So write down the homework. At sea level, the mercury column in the barometer is found to have a height of 76 centimeter. At sea level, the mercury column in the barometer is found to have a height of 76 centimeter. Find the atmospheric pressure. At sea level, the mercury column in the barometer, is found to have a height of 76 centimeter. Find the atmospheric pressure. P naught we have to find. Understood? Okay. So this is simple question. You only can solve. So just rho is density of the mercury, substitute density of the mercury and G, and you will get the answer. Okay. So now our question, one of the just interesting question is, why this mercury only used in this mercury barometer? Why not water? Or you can use. Why not we cannot use water or any other thing? So you can use any other liquid or you can use any other gas. But if you use a gas or liquid, any other liquid, say water, so the density of that water is very low. The density of water is less compared to mercury. Then to balance the force due to atmospheric pressure, the height of the water will becomes very large. The height of the water will becomes very large and the glass tube becomes very large. Such a large glass tube cannot be practically balanced. Practically balancing in this tub of water becomes very difficult. That's why they used the mercury. So if you use the water, then also you can do this experiment. It is not that you cannot do this experiment with water, you can do, but practically it is not possible. So why it is not possible? Because the length of the glass tube or height of this water will be very high. Height of the water will be very high. Understood? Okay. Hope you understood this point what I am telling. That is, density of mercury is large. Okay. Acceleration due to gravity is constant, that it does not change, 9.8. So now density of mercury is large and height will comes out to be around 76 centimeter, 75 centimeter something, then you will get atmospheric pressure. So if density is very less, density is very less, to balance this atmospheric pressure, that is to balance the force due to atmospheric pressure, the height of that liquid column has to become very large. Atmospheric pressure does not change, it will remain same. whether you are measuring with mercury or whether you are measuring with water. Understood? So if you use the water, so the height will becomes very large, so practically it is not possible. So that's why they use mercury. Understood? Okay. So now some other units of pressure, units of atmospheric pressure, some other units of atmospheric pressure. So one of the unit of atmospheric pressure is ATM. 1 ATM, that is 1 atmospheric pressure. It is equal to 76 centimeter of mercury column. 76 centimeter of mercury column. So 1 atmospheric pressure is equal to, so in chemistry books, some of the books you might have seen 76 centimeter of mercury column. That is 76 centimeter is nothing but this height mercury column. So rho g, if you substitute, you will get atmospheric pressure. And there are some other units to measure. This 1 ATM is equal to 1.013. 1.013 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter square. 1.013 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter square. This is or you can write it as 1 ATM is equal to 1.013 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. So these all are some other units used to measure the atmospheric pressure. So that is 1 atmospheric pressure is equal to 1.013 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter square or 1.013 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. So you can also write it as 1 atmospheric pressure is equal to 10 to the power 6 dyne per centimeter square. Dyne per centimeter square. So some other units are also there, that is bar. So you can also use a unit called bar. 1 bar is equal to 1 bar is equal to 10 to the power 5 Pascal. 1 bar is equal to 10 to the power 5 Pascal. That is 1 bar is equal to 10 to the power 5 Pascal or 1 millibar. Some other units are also used. So next another unit used is torr. That is another one unit used to measure the atmospheric pressure is torr. 1 torr is equal to 1 millimeter of mercury column. 1 millimeter of mercury column. 1 torr is equal to 1 millimeter of mercury column. So it is instead of 76 centimeter, for 1 torr of atmospheric pressure, the height of the mercury column will be 1 millimeter. Height of the mercury column will be 1 millimeter, or you can write this as 1 torr is equal to 133.3 Pascal. 133.3 Pascal. So these are bar and torr. Bar and torr are the practical units. Bar and torr are the practical units used to measure the atmospheric pressure. Remember that this bar and torr are the practical units used to measure the atmospheric pressure. If they in the exam they ask what is the practical unit for atmospheric pressure, the better answer will be bar or torr instead of Pascal. Instead of Pascal. Understood? Okay. So this is about atmospheric pressure, how to measure the atmospheric pressure. Okay. Okay. Next we shall study about the Pascal's law. Next we shall study about the Pascal's law. Okay. So now we shall study next concept, Pascal's law. So it states that if pressure exerted at any point of a liquid, if pressure is exerted at any point of a liquid, then this pressure is transmitted equally in all direction. If pressure is exerted at any point of an enclosed liquid, if pressure is exerted at any point of an enclosed liquid, this pressure is transmitted equally in all direction. There are different ways of explaining Pascal's law. So this Pascal's law is used to study how pressure is transmitted. Pascal's law explains about how pressure is transmitted in a liquid. How pressure is transmitted in a liquid, that can be studied by Pascal's law. So according to the Pascal's law, there are different definitions. I will tell a few one. So according to Pascal's law, the pressure exerted at any point of a enclosed liquid, the pressure exerted at any point of an enclosed liquid is transmitted equally in all direction. Or it states that if the effect of gravity is neglected, according to the Pascal's law, if the effect of gravity is neglected, then pressure at every point of a liquid, the pressure at every point of a liquid in equilibrium of rest is same. The pressure at every point of a liquid in equilibrium of rest is same if the gravity effect is neglected. That is, pressure will remain constant in equilibrium of rest of a liquid if gravity effect is neglected. That is another way of explaining the formula. Or the increase in pressure at one point, the increase in pressure at one point of liquid, enclosed liquid in equilibrium of rest is transmitted equally at all the points, It is the increase in pressure at any one point, of a enclosed liquid in equilibrium of rest is transmitted equally to all other parts, when the acceleration due to gravity is neglected. This is Pascal's law. So there are different statements for the Pascal's law. The meaning of all that statement will be same, and depending upon this Pascal's law, we can study the working of hydraulic lift or hydraulic press, etc. So just I will try to explain this Pascal's law by taking an application. So now let us consider a container like this. Let us consider a container having three openings, X, Y and Z. Having three openings, just for our understanding I am drawing this one. A vessel is there having three openings, X, Y and Z. Area of cross section of X is A, area of cross section of Y, opening Y is 2A, area of cross section of the opening Z is A by 2. Let us consider a vessel consisting of three openings, X, Y and Z. Area of cross section of X, Y and Z openings are A, 2A and A by 2. Then these openings are fitted with, that is, these openings are fitted with frictionless piston, and this inside this there is some liquid. Let us consider a water is filled in this entire container, and three walls or openings are there, and these three walls have different cross sectional area. So this one has a cross sectional area A, this one has a cross sectional area 2A, this one has a cross sectional area A by 2, and here frictionless pistons are fixed, and this entire vessel is filled with water. So now when a force F is applied, on the piston X, when a force F is applied on the piston X, then the increase in pressure, that is the pressure is applied, the increase in pressure is transmitted through this water. As a result, these piston Y and Z will move outward. So to make them, to stop them there only, we have to apply a force. It is observed that a force of 2F is required on the opening Y, and a force of F by 2 is required on the opening Z to keep these pistons at their respective position. So when a force F is applied on the opening X, then a pressure is applied to the water. So to keep the openings, that is to keep the piston in the openings Y and Z, a force of 2F and F by 2 has to be applied on X and Z respectively, and this shows that the pressure applied here, is transmitted to these two openings. The pressure applied here is transmitted to these two openings. Then only a force of 2F is required to keep this piston there only, and a force of F by 2 is required to keep the piston at that position. Understood? So by this we can understand, that is, if P is equal to, that is pressure applied, P is equal to F divided by A, that is at the opening A, at the opening X, then pressure at this point, that is force applied will be 2F divided by 2A, and at the opening Z, that is F by 2, and this is A by 2. So all the things will come so to be F by A. So that is the same, that is how much pressure is transmitted here. The same amount of pressure is transmitted to the opening Y and to the opening Z, to the piston Y and Z. One pressure is applied here, the same amount of pressure is transmitted to Y and Z. Understood? Okay. So this is Pascal's law. This is how we can understand the Pascal's law very easily. Okay. So what does Pascal's law tells that? So Pascal's law tells that the pressure at every point, of a liquid in equilibrium of rest, the pressure at every point of a liquid in equilibrium of rest will remain constant if gravity effect is neglected. One of the way. Pressure at every point of a liquid in equilibrium of rest is constant if gravity effect is neglected. That is one of the point. Another way of explaining this Pascal's law is if pressure exerted, that is the pressure exerted at any point of a liquid is transmitted equally in all directions. The pressure exerted at any point of a liquid in equilibrium is transmitted equally in all directions. That is another way of explaining the Pascal's law. So now, depending upon this Pascal's law, we have to study the working of hydraulic lift. We have to study the working of hydraulic lift. The working of hydraulic lift. Let us understand the working of a hydraulic lift. Okay. So a hydraulic lift consists of two cylinders. A hydraulic lift consists of two cylinders. Say one has a cylinder C, another one has cylinder C, another one has D. Okay. We have to understand working of hydraulic lift. This hydraulic lift works on the principle of Pascal's law. It is used to measure the weight of heavy objects. It is used to measure the weight of heavy objects. Okay. So now, this entire column, that is this entire column is filled with a incompressible liquid. Is filled with incompressible liquid. Is filled with incompressible liquid. The area of cross section of the cylinder C is small a, and the area of cross section of the cylinder D is capital A. Area of cross section of the cylinder A, that is C. Cylinder C is small a, and area of cross section of the cylinder D is capital A, and it is filled with incompressible fluid, incompressible liquid. This is hydraulic lift. Hydraulic lift that is measuring weight of a heavy object, that is to measure the weight of a truck, or weight of a any other very big object, we use the hydraulic lift. In our Gulbarga outer ring road, banduk wala weight beach bolke hai, so that is what hydraulic lift. So here it consists of two cylindrical pipes. One cylindrical pipe is C, another one is D, and this entire container, this entire device is filled with incompressible fluid. What type of fluid? Incompressible fluid or incompressible liquid. The area of cross section of cylinder C is small a, and area of cross section of cylinder D is capital A. Okay. So now a heavy object has to be kept on the cylinder D, on the platform of the cylinder D. Okay, let us take it as a platform on the D. This is the heavy object which is kept on the D, and the weight of this object has to be measured. Okay. So when a small force F is applied, on the piston of the cylinder C, the force transmitted, the pressure transmitted to the liquid, is P is equal to F divided by A. The pressure transmitted to the liquid is P is equal to F divided by A, and this pressure is transmitted to this piston also. this pressure is transmitted to this platform, and this platform, so a force is experienced, a force capital F is experienced by the platform in the upward direction. When a force small f is applied in the downward direction, when a small force F is applied in the downward direction on the piston of cylinder C, a force capital F is experienced on the platform in the cylinder D in the upward direction, and the force experienced and the pressure applied here will be equal to P is equal to F divided by A, and here also the pressure exerted on the upward direction, here also the pressure exerted on the upward direction, that will be also same, F divided by A. So now pressures both are same, so there is F divided by A is equal to F divided by capital A, and now capital F is equal to, that is force, upward force exerted on the platform of the D, that is capital F is equal to capital A divided by small a into small f. So it is as A is greater than small a, this cross sectional area is larger than a cross sectional area of the cylinder C. Hence F will be larger compared to small f. That is, the value of the force exerted in the upward direction will be larger compared to the value of the force exerted in the downward direction. Force exerted by us, external force exerted is small f, and the fluid will exert say force capital F on the platform, and the capital F force exerted by the fluid is given by capital F is equal to capital A divided by A into small f. So it is by maintaining this factor as large, capital A by small a as large, we can receive, or we can have a larger force exerted by the liquid, in the container on this platform, that is capital F is equal to A by A into small f. Understood? Okay. So this is based on the Pascal's law. It is, this principle is Pascal's law, that is pressure is transmitted. So pressure exerted here is transmitted to in this direction. Okay. In this end, the pressure exerted at that end is transmitted to this end. Okay. So this is based on the Pascal's law only. Okay. So now next, so in this you have to remember that the small f, that is small force is applied, and here large force is applied by the liquid on the platform. As a result, the large weight can be lifted. As a result, a large weight can be lifted. Here a small force is applied. By applying a small force, we are lifting a very large weight. Understood? Okay. So, and one more thing, the work done here, the work done by the small force is same as the work done by the large force, that is capital F. The work done is not, that is work done is conserved. You can tell the work done by the small force, work done by small force F is same as work done by that is fluid force capital F, fluid force capital F. Understood? So that is work done will be same, because if this piston moves a distance, downward distance, then this piston will also move a distance, but the distance moved by the smaller piston will be more, and the distance moved by the larger piston will be less. The distance moved by the smaller piston in the downward direction will be more compared to the distance moved by the larger piston, in the upward direction. Understood? So the work done by the small force will be same as the work done by the larger fluid force. Okay. So this is called a hydraulic lift. Understood? Hope you understood. It's also simple things. These all are simple things. Only we have to follow them properly, and you will understand. The pressure, how much pressure is applied here, that much pressure is transmitted here. That is the principle. Understood? That is called as Pascal's law. Understood? Okay, so in the exam they might ask state and explain Pascal's law. State and explain Pascal's law. So you have to write the statement, and explanation means you can write that one. Just now I have drawn a diagram like this. So I have explained. So that also you can write state and explain, or you can state that Pascal's law, then you can explain the hydraulic lift, no problem. Depending upon the marks, state and explain Pascal's law can be for 3 marks, can be also for 5 marks. State and explain Pascal's law can be for 3 marks, can be for 5 marks, can be for 2 marks. So depending upon the marks, we have to make the answer. Understood? So what is hydraulic lift, or what is the principle of hydraulic lift if they ask? So hydraulic lift is a device used to measure the heavy objects. A hydraulic lift is a device used to measure the weight of the heavy object, and it works on the principle of Pascal's law. It works on the principle of Pascal's law. Understood? So like this you must be able to make the answers after understanding the concepts. Understood? Okay. From this Pascal's law, I will give some numericals which you have to solve. Some homework I will give that you have to solve on this Pascal's law only. Okay. So write down the question, numericals. The numerical I will dictate, you have to write. Take a pen and page. Take paper and pen, pause the video and take your notebook and a pen, then start writing. Pause the video. Then after that you can start it. So take pen and paper. So write on the numerical. I will dictate, you have to write. The neck and bottom of a bottle are 2 cm and 10 cm in diameter respectively. The neck and bottom of a bottle. The neck and bottom of a bottle are 2 cm and 10 cm in diameter respectively. The neck and bottom of a bottle are 2 cm and 10 cm in diameter respectively. You please stop. If the cork is pressed with a force of 1.2 kgf. If the cork is pressed with a force of 1.2 kgf. If the cork is pressed with a force of 1.2 kgf in the neck of the bottle. If the cork is pressed with a force of 1.2 kgf in the neck of the bottle, if the cork is pressed with a force of 1.2 kgf in the neck of the bottle, calculate the force exerted on the bottom of the bottle. Calculate the force exerted on the bottom of the bottle. Calculate the force exerted on the bottom of the bottle. This is homework, you only have to solve. Okay, see here. I think you are familiar with this one, kgf. What is kgf? kgf. Picture nahi. kgf picture allapa. It is a unit. kgf is a unit of force. It is a gravitational unit of force. So I will tell about that otherwise. So for F is equal to 1.2 kg force or kgf. If you write it as 1.2 kg force, it means 1.2 into 9.8 Newton. F is equal to 1.2 into 9.8 Newton. Kg force, that is 1 kg force or 1 kgf is equal to 9.8 Newton. Remember that 1 kgf is equal to 9.8 Newton. Okay, F is equal to mg. All these things you will study in the while studying about the force. If you have studied, it will comes in the first part, laws of motion. I think in the laws of motion you will study. So if you are not studied, don't worry. kgf is a unit of force, gravitational unit of force. So any xyz, kgf means that xyz into 9.8 Newton. Understood? That number into 9.8 Newton or 1 kg force, 1 kgf is equal to 9.8 Newton. Remember that. Okay, solve this numerical and the answer for this one, I will give the final answer. The final answer for this one comes out to be 30 kgf. 30 kgf. The answer for this one, final answer will comes out to be 30 kgf. how the answer comes, that is left to you people. No, you only try that and try to solve them by using this formula only. By using this formula only, that is depending upon the Pascal's law. Write down another numerical homework. Don't solve now only. Solve after watching the video. This is homework. Okay. In a car lift, compressed air exerts a force F1. In a car lift, compressed air exerts a force F1, capital F1. In a car lift, compressed air exerts a force F1 on a small piston having a radius of 5 centimeter. In a car lift, compressed air exerts a force F1 on a small piston having a radius 5 centimeter. Give list of. This pressure is transmitted to a second piston. This pressure is transmitted to a second piston of radius 15 centimeter. This pressure is transmitted to a second piston of radius 15 centimeter. Give list of. If the mass of the car to be lifted, is, if the mass of the car to be lifted is 1350 kg. If the mass of the car to be lifted is 1350 kg, come on. If the mass of the car to be lifted is 1350 kg, what is F1? What is F1? F1 question mark. What is F1 question mark? What is the pressure necessary to accomplish this task? What is the pressure necessary to accomplish this task? What is the pressure necessary to accomplish this task? Question mark. Okay. Read this question and try to solve this one also. So the solution for this one, I will give the answer for this one. So F1 will comes out to be 1.5 into 10 to the power 3 Newton. 1.5 into 10 to the power 3 Newton. And the pressure P comes out to be 1.9 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. F1 will comes out to be 1.5 into 10 to the power 3 Newton and P comes out to be 1.9 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. Try to solve these numericals. Solving the numericals is very important in physics. Okay. See, I had not solved any of the numericals, still I am giving the homework. Only the reason is that you people learn to solve the numericals on your own way. Okay. In the next upcoming classes, I will be solving plenty of numericals. Just now I want to see how much physics you can apply, how much learned physics you can apply to solve the numericals on your own. Okay. So get the answer. How we will get the answer? By using the formulas only you can get the answer, very simple. So do it, this much is enough. So in the next classes we will solve or we will take next topic. Okay.